Hello, I would like to begin this video by thanking Billy No Scope for allowing me to guest post on his channel. You, Billy, are a true ally. I also would like to give a trigger warning. This video contains discussion of rape, violence, misogyny, child abuse, and other mature themes. My name is Heather. I am a former, now reformed fan of the writer and comedian known to the world as Maddox. Maddox, whose real name is George Ouzounian, as you will see, is a sexist, child-hating, antisocial monster. I choose to come forward because as a young woman in the early 2000s, George Maddox Ouzounian taught me to hate myself. I am now an empowered feminist who no longer, as George evidently still does, believes in his hateful rhetoric and legacy. I am no longer afraid. I have compiled evidence from George Maddox Ouzounian's websites, podcast appearances, and videos as a service to anyone thinking about working with this vile figure. I plan to expose to the world just how much of a terrible person he is and why his views and values are incompatible with his supposedly woke, LA-based comedic persona. You, Maddox, are not an ally. You are a despicable individual who capitalizes on toxic masculinity and patriarchy. To begin, Maddox's rise to fame began in the early days of Web 1.0. His blog, The Best Page in the Universe, rivals Stormfront in its reactionary, hate-filled agenda. Let us begin with his war on women. Maddox has equated feminists, progressives who simply seek equality between men and women, with fascists and Nazis. I guess he thinks that a society in which only men have rights would be ideal. Isn't that right, Maddox? He even went as far as to make the absurd claim that feminists have a war on men and suggested that feminists are bad, evil people. Maddox's toxic masculinity is on full display when he writes,
"Why do so many women insist on carrying out this war against men? Absolute gender equality isn't going to happen. We have gender equality now. Even if in a million years, men and women somehow made this unrealistic ideal happen, there will always be a sexual distinction between men and women causing some sort of inequality, if only on the level of basic physical needs. Or should I say women and men, as not to imply a male superiority? Why the hell should people go out of their way to be politically correct and use this he, she nonsense so a few chicks with language complexes won't be offended? Oops, I said chicks. Damn."
This passage does the following: promotes the bigoted lie that men and women are already treated equally in today's society. In saying there will always be a sexual distinction between men and women, he erases the existence of intersexed and non-binary folks. Makes light of dehumanizing sexist phraseology like chicks. But Maddox's anti-women writings don't stop with feminism. Maddox frequently expresses a profound hatred toward women, often expressed in violent ways. For instance, in My Balls Are Huge, he jokes about injuring his female partner with his oversized testicles.
"My ex-girlfriend was bitching at me one day, so I tossed my nuts at her. Bam. Knocked the bitch out cold. The best teabagging she ever received, and I wasn't even trying."
This is all supposedly said for laughs. Does Maddox really believe that this kind of violence against women is funny? Personally, I find it disgusting. Big foul. He also called beloved American actress Julia Roberts by the sexist gendered slur bitch in an article simply titled Bitch, and goes on to attack her with more gendered insults like stupid hag. He also, bizarrely, calls a woman from Crest toothpaste commercials a whore. Wow, Maddox. Slut-shaming and sexism? That's a twofer. Yet toxic masculinity is George Maddox Ouzounian's calling card. He pioneered a genre of degrading humor known as frat tire. In his only successful book, The Alphabet of Manliness, he encourages his male readers to sexually assault unsuspecting women. C is for copping a feel, he writes. Disturbing, but unsurprising rhetoric from a man whose own podcast network's subreddit maintains a rape list. This is no accident. Just listen to Maddox in his own words.
Get raped. Get raped.
If sexism and anti-feminism are not enough, consider Maddox's apologia for some of the worst acts known to man, done to children. In this article, Maddox mocks child kidnapping and rape victim Elizabeth Smart. He mocks her as Elizabeth Not So Smart. Is this still funny to you, Maddox? In 2024? You keep this article on your blog for everyone to see, so you obviously do. Jokes about child abduction and rape are never funny. But what can we expect from someone who said something like this?
Having sex with a prego would be awesome.
Sorry, what?
Because then you got the baby in there, and you're like, you're poking the baby too, right? Yeah, man, I can't wait to grow up, and I'm gonna bang a chick and her baby. Like, that's kind of cool. Like, you know, you're banging both. That's 2 for 1.
Encouraging child abuse is a frequent theme in George Maddox Ouzounian's writing. For instance, in his article, Stop Being a Pussy, Beat Your Kids, he writes,
How come everyone today is too much of a pussy to smack their kids around? If you love your kids, love them enough to beat them so that they don't grow up to be idiots.
Beating children is one of the most common forms of child abuse. It is truly awful and inexcusable. But to Maddox, it is fodder for humor. Sadly, Maddox's toxic masculinity does not end at promoting misogyny and child abuse. He also comes down hard on the LGBT community. In this photo, proudly maintained on his website, Maddox appears to be fondling the breast of a transgender Thai ladyboy performer, while joking that these chicks have bigger dicks than I do. He also jokes that he was able to cop a feel on one of these quote-unquote transvestites by exclaiming "score!" as if he got away with something. I cannot imagine something more transphobic. Plus, Maddox, why is it a problem that these hot women are trans? Is there something wrong with being trans? Why do you seem to think it's so funny that a woman might have a bigger penis than yours? For someone who is supposedly tolerant of being open with one's sexuality, as evidenced by your passionate defense of cuckold fetishism, you certainly harbor a lot of backwards views about trans women. Maddox's attack on queer identities is not limited to trans folks. In Maddox's article, Who's Gay, Who Cares?, he writes,
Just because it's convenient for someone to be a homosexual doesn't mean everyone else should be forced to redefine age-old laws to accommodate their choice.
So it's a choice, huh, Maddox? That's news to the millions of LGBT people watching this video. So how can George Maddox Ouzounian make up for his transgressions? It would take a lot of work, but for one, he can put ads on his website and donate the proceeds to feminist and allied charities. The fact that he will likely refuse to do so is a testament to his stubbornly toxic masculinity. Ask yourself, would you go to see an LA-based comedy troupe who harbored such a character? I know I wouldn't. Thank you for watching, and sisters, stand strong.